Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome into A3. If you're with us here on YouTube, hey, hi, hello, what's up? How is it hanging? Join the conversation, like the video, subscribe. Omid, hey, how's it going? I've got McCall, Christine here. Christine, you're always in the chat. What do you want to hear from the people today?
Yeah, I want to get their thoughts on this weekend NWSL. I want to hear about, well, we're going to get into some really fun stuff, I think, today too. So, I want to get
Ooh.
their feedback on that because I think we're going into unventured, uncharted territory. So, I feel like some good conversations are ahead.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, give us your thoughts, chat. Thanks. Thanks for hanging with us. Of course, you can always listen as a pod. We are on Galazzo Network as well. Tell a friend to join us on Thursday, on Sunday night after NWSL action, because it is always good to hang with you guys. So thanks for being here. Let's get into the show. Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third, Tuesday's episode, which means that we've got a lot of good topics for you. We're talking first year manager runs. We've got a mailbag segment. You keep asking us questions, guys. We're here to answer them for you. And we're doing a revision board in the NWSL. It's so cute, so clever, Mark. Great theme. I can't do it alone. Alongside Christine Cupo and McCall Zerboni, I'm Lisa Carlin. Guys, it is so good to see you. McCall, what's up? How's it hanging?
I'm excited about this episode too. We've gotten some breaking news. That's kind of what Tuesdays are all about. Some new news floods in. No matter how much we think we have a topic, we've got to always flow with what's hot and what's dropping. So we'll talk about some of those things that were just dropped. And yeah, I'm excited about all these.
Okay, McCall, congratulations, I guess, are in order because Gotham has just won the inaugural
Hey,
W Champions Cup this past weekend, beating Tigres. It's a CONCACAF championship. It's a North American best club team. You've scored goals in the CONCACAF W Champions Cup, so congrats. You're a winner, my friend. Do you get a
Thank
trophy?
you.
Do you get a medal? What happens here?
I don't know the lay of the land. I'm just always saying congrats to them, not to myself, because technically the winning roster at the end, I wasn't on it. But yeah, I mean, I think about even my other players that helped them get there, and I want them to get credit somehow and not screw myself. I'm thinking about the other ones, So
hell
I think
no, you're a contributor. I know you kind of can't say congrats to me because it's a little douchey, but congrats to you, McCall.
thank you. Cheers. Yeah, we just don't know the lay of the land yet. I think it's the first year of the tournament, so they're just trying to figure out how they're going to do that roster turnover blend of it being over 2 seasons. So,
Well, keep us updated. We want to see the medal if and when you get it. But either way, congrats. You
thank
scored
you.
goals in that tournament. You were a huge contributor. It's pretty cool that they beat Tigres and it's Gotham is the best team in CONCACAF, the best club team. That's a pretty high honor
I
to
think
be
it
in.
sets a stance. I,
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit flexy.
Absolutely, it is. All right, guys, we have such a fun show planned for you today, so let's dive into it. If you don't know, now you know. Attacking Third, we go live on YouTube Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 a.m., Monday at 4:30 in the afternoon, and on the weekend. Following the final NWSL game, that final match, we get live player interviews. We do Club A3. It is so fun. Please join us this upcoming weekend. But our first topic that we are diving into is the greatest first year manager runs. And this conversation spurred because of the most recent UEFA Women's Champions League final with two head coaches that were in their first year. For Barcelona, it was Pere Romeu in his first full year with the club. He took over in June after Jonas Eidevall left Barcelona and came to Washington Spirit. He went on to help Barcelona go 28-0-2, 84 points, 128 goals, and they made it to a Champions League final. And then you look at the other side, Renée Slegers, who took Arsenal from January to May, just 5 months as a full-time head coach, second in the WSL league standings and stopping Barcelona from three-peating in the Champions League. And Arsenal becomes the champions of Europe. So it started this big debate. Who, Christine, which manager has had the greatest first year run?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are a lot of names, but they're also a select few, right? These are the elites of the elites. And I think that we were fortunate to see such an explosive Champions League final out of first year managers. And granted, they both came into teams that were in definitely different states of order for sure, right? Like you had Pere Romeu come into this Barcelona side with Jonah Heraldez already having established dominance, with Jonah Heraldez in 2021-22 season coming in and winning the domestic treble, but not just winning the domestic treble. They won all 30 Liga F matches, 90 perfect points, 159 goals, 11 conceded all season. So when you come into a team, and that's not to say anything negative about Pere, but that's an insane stacked roster to come into. It's almost like if you can't do it, it's more of a scathing indictment on you than otherwise. Whereas you look at a Renée Slegers who came in on the back of a team that had been trying to reestablish themselves, had made runs into the Champions League, hadn't won since 2007. And for her to come in as an interim in October, very early in the season, get fully appointed in January, absolutely see an instant impact on that squad, how they're playing more freely. And then to segue that into a Champions League win, your first season as manager is absolutely insane. Um, I think that also in this conversation, we have to acknowledge that, and this isn't a knock on Emma Hayes in any way, shape, or form, but I would say, chat, she's one of the world's great football managers, period. And you can tell me whether you agree or not. But her first season in 2012 with Chelsea, she came up trophyless. So when you look at the trajectory of the way that these managers who become what we now know from their body of work into great managers versus those who come out hammering and become these sort of specialists, I think there's an insane juxtaposition. I'd say too with Arsenal, in their climb forward, I'd put Joe Montemurro into this conversation. Big Joe, who we've seen more broadly around women's football world. He They won the Conti Cup with him in 27-2018, his first season with Arsenal, but they finished third in WSL. I wouldn't say that that's a blight, but then he goes on to Juve in Serie A Femminile 2021, 2023, or 2022, and he wins the domestic treble with them. So when you start to see these patterns of what they can do early on in their careers versus what they end up doing in the long run, you enter the conversation. Sonia Bompastor.
But Emma Hayes is on the other side of that because you just said in her first year with Chelsea, she didn't win anything, but then
Yep.
she jumps from the club level to the international level, going with the US women's national team and having the best 2024 that a manager could hope for, right? She came in and had 4 warm-up games before the team left for Paris. 4 matches. 4. Then she goes and wins gold. The first time for the US since 2012. She was not handed a roster and a system and a team that was set up to win gold. She had to do that herself. She went 10 games undefeated in 2024. From the time she took over to well after to winning gold. And then she finished completely undefeated, 13 wins and 2 draws. To me, that is the epitome of a coach in their first year.
Well, that's the point in it. Like the 2 questions you need to ask yourself are, what was the state of the club before they arrived? Was it a mess? Did they already have good players? And then how much was this coach responsible for recruiting these players or bringing the players in, or were they already handed a really solid roster that they could slide right into, right? So like, for example, Eidevall, he came into San Diego. Half of those players he chose, half he didn't, because he knew some players that he wanted to pull in once he took the job. But also, how early did they get the job? How much time did they have to recruit players to come to the club that they're going to, that they identify as their style of play?
And I love that you brought that up, Lisa, with Emma specifically, and that I kind of baited you a little bit. I was like, come on out.
Yeah.
Think about how hard that is at the national team level to do that more immediately with less time and less capacity to shape a culture versus club day in, day out, seeing those same faces.
Absolutely. But I would argue that now Hayes has a harder job because she's trying to rebuild the entire structure of US soccer from like youth all the way up to the senior national team, right? She has single-handedly said, I am going to rework what it means to be on a U23, what it means to get a senior national team call up, to not make it this super exclusive, elusive club that if you're playing well, it'll translate to a call up or at least getting into camp to see what you're made of. I think that is a bigger, more daunting task than just, okay, we have 10 games until the gold medal match. It is day by day because there's only so many things you can work on in those moments. Now
Yes,
it's like,
but you're
okay,
also plucking from the US, which has a plethora of amazing players. Like, imagine if a coach went to coach for, say, Jamaica or something that isn't as established with quality players. The league isn't as established there.
FA
That's
isn't
harder
cooperative.
to
Yeah.
develop the players.
so if we think about how a team does based on what the club, the roster looks like prior to a coach getting there, that would essentially take Barcelona off the table because for the third time, Barcelona has promoted an assistant coach to their head coaching role. And that success of coaching and team stems back to 2019. And the roster really hasn't changed that much,
Mhm.
maybe one or two players year in and year out. What about Arsenal though for this year? How much did their roster change from last year into this year?
Not much, not much at all. You got the influx of the Americans like Foxy. There were some adjustments, obviously, but like they didn't make very many moves, which was very
And that's
conservative
my
of
point
them.
for you, Christine.
Renee had to do what she could with literally what she had in a limited amount of time. So to be able to be that transformative for a manager working with the same tools as your predecessor and be able to turn that into a Champions League win after over a decade of trying to get back to that state of glory for the club is mind-boggling.
Is it now that we're seeing coaches get these chances to do it? Is football changing? McCall, I mean, why does it feel like this is happening so frequently now?
Well, in the case of Arsenal specifically, there was a lot of talk that Eidevall was kind of losing the locker room and the players weren't believing him anymore. So in that case, you have two decisions to make. You either get rid of the coach or you flip the roster over. So the roster was still the same. They have familiarity playing with each other. They kind of already had an ideology and style of play, whether it was from Eidevall or not. But all those players had connections already, and then they felt refreshed when the new coach got appointed, and they're like, okay, we asked the club to maybe possibly make a change in this area. They did. Now it's our job and our turn to do it on the field. And they rose together and really got some solid performances, and that gave them a great season.
Okay, so if we're talking about the best managers in their debut year at a team, where do these coaches fall? Like, what is the order that you're going with? Where does Sonia Bompastor, who's in her first year at
Yeah,
Chelsea and just won the domestic treble, where does
yeah.
she fall in all of this,
And
Christine?
she won her first full season with Lyon, she won the double. So, like, she's now, like, a repeat
She's proven.
offender.
She's
Like,
proven. She's done it in two
she's
different leagues
bullet
in two different countries, top teams. It's coaching. It's coaching. It's not the roster she was handed. It's both.
But McCall, Chelsea crashed out of Champions League. That's their goal. They've won the domestic treble. They've won the WSL for the 6th consecutive year. It is Champions League that Chelsea wants, and they didn't get there. They didn't even get to a semifinal.
And I'm sure that's disappointing for them, but that doesn't change Sonia's win record.
No, not at all. I feel like also Sonia is the first player to manage her pipeline for Lyon. She's the first woman to ever coach Lyon. Um, I think she's got a few other like gold stars on her belt there. Um, she took over from Jean-Luc Vasseur after he left, and Lyon at that point weren't in the greatest state to begin with. So like she did transform them into again this like legacy club, which begs the question now, like Barcelona having lost the Champions League this season, Lyon having the most Champions League titles. I think my expectation was if Barcelona were able to do this, like, does that mean that they're moving into that sort of dynastic role within women's football of usurping Lyon? And now we have Arsenal who gummed up the works here for them in essence. And what does that indicate for Arsenal now? Like, can Renée Slegers now having a full preseason, it's comical to say that, like a full
Yeah.
preseason and time with the team, statistically more difficult to replicate season over season, no matter what anybody says. What does the future look like for Arsenal women now?
If they don't make it to, let's say, the semifinal of the Champions League next year, is that a failure for Arsenal?
I feel like if they were to prioritize winning WSL again, and that if they flip it, I think there's some forgiveness in that, because
So you think
trying
something
to
has to give always, but then you see Chelsea win a treble.
right, but Chelsea are also incredibly deep, and that depth is not something that Arsenal have.
But so is Arsenal. I mean, Jenna Nighswonger isn't even playing.
Yeah, but
So
Jenna Nighswonger isn't good enough to play on that team in the
you
roles that they
really
need
don't
her
think
to.
so?
No. I think that they tried her a little bit more in the midfield, and I think she could be good on that flank, but then you also have, like, Mariona Caldente,
Well,
who
that's
slots
filling
in
the
more.
depth. That's what we're talking
Yeah,
about, right? So I think they have
yeah.
it. I think they have what it takes.
I don't I think that they're the depth that they do have is a further departure from their A team right now, is what I'll say. Like, their defense, like, I wouldn't trade them for the world. Like, that back line is integral to their success, and swapping them around, I'm like, okay, fine. Like, Wubin Moy, yeah, like, you can get her in there, but like, there's deviations enough that I'd be a little bit more worried.
Let's do this. Let's take Arsenal, put them in the NWSL. How would they do?
Oh, I think well, no, I think they put up a pretty damn good fight. Like, I think they'd be do well in NWSL.
What's well to you?
Granted,
Top
like,
three?
yeah, but like, I think that it's hard to place them contextually, because style-wise, and also with the level of competition that's in NWSL, and how it's undeniably the most competitive league in world football for women. Like, no question. Like, I will die on that hill. Um, I think that it would it would illuminate whether they have a capacity to weather a storm like that, to get back into playoffs. You know what I mean? Because we always see that dip in teams where, there's rock solid, then whoop, what happened? And then they come hammering back. But I think that that's just a feature of NWSL.
And perhaps if Arsenal were in the NWSL, they get playoffs, which
Yeah.
you obviously don't get in Europe. Would that help or hurt them at the end of the season to know, okay, you didn't finish first, didn't even finish
Yeah.
second, right? You can finish top 8.
But that's kind of like
and
our mini
still win.
Champions League, right?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, the conversation is different, because obviously there's the Conti Cup. There's multiple competitions in Europe that they can be also trying to win. I feel like NWSL is starting to get there, where they're integrating. We have like summer cups, and we have whatever, and things like that. Where the
That we
emphasis
don't get
isn't too
trophies for.
heavy. What's that?
That we don't get trophies for.
Yeah, well, but yeah, there's things like that the competition is getting more diversified, and I feel like the burden right now still isn't on NWSL to have to win secondary, tertiary trophies. I think that eventually that'll change, but right now I feel like there's far more emphasis in Europe on, like, well, what else did you win? Like, oh, you
Yeah.
just won the league. And yeah, for those leagues, some of them there's less parity. Like in France, like, you're gonna see those chunks at the top and bottom of the table, and then the middle is just kind of like no man's land.
I mean, you could even say that about the WSL. Chelsea is
Yeah.
how many points ahead of Arsenal?
I
So
don't think we celebrate the shield enough. To me, that is the most phenomenal thing you can achieve in a season. You are consistently, over a long period of time, the best team. It's amazing.
Yeah. You know what? And to this conversation, I'll say, I know it's comparing apples to oranges. Seb Hines, Orlando Pride, first season. They won the league, they won the Shield, they hit multiple league records.
that
Like,
wasn't his first season.
oh wait, second season?
Yeah, that wasn't his first
Oh,
season.
damn
Because
it.
I lived there for a long time too, but yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't his first season. But you could say that about Adrian or Jonah Heraldes
Hold on. Yeah,
making it to a final in his first
yeah.
year with
Or
Washington
Juan Carlos
Spirit.
Amaros.
Not even having a whole year. He came in June, everyone. I think that's pretty impressive to do that with a team that is riddled with injuries as well. That's
Yeah.
depth. for Washington Spirit.
You have to really have a lot of faith too in Adrian Gonzalez to send him over to be like, you're deputized, go.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the Barcelona tree that has been
Yeah.
built with branch after branch following the same procedure and regimen and coaching and understanding the system that allows that to happen, which also allows Barcelona to have a rotation of different coaches over the last 5 years and still win 3 Champions Leagues and make it to another final. So there's a lot to be said with it. But to kind of put a bow on this conversation, Christine, I'm going to throw this back to you. Which manager had the best debutante season? You have to name one.
Oh, man. I think I still have to go Jonah Heraldez, just because of like the perfect
In Washington?
first season he had. No.
With Barcelona.
For Barcelona. Yeah.
Okay.
Like they went invisible. They won everything. Like it was a perfect season.
That's a pretty good one. I'm going to go Emma Hayes, guys. That 2024 for her was just, to me, that is insane. That is incredible to win gold in 10 matches with a new team.
To win everything. And then I'd go second right now, I'd say it would be Renée for me. Like, because how the hell do you do that? You don't just like pop off and win Champions League out of nowhere.
So 2 of the 3 that we just named are women too. Pretty cool. More women in coaching positions. This was a really, really fun combo. All right, guys, we've got a mailbag coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We're going to answer your questions.
UEFA Conference League Final on CBS Sports Network and streaming live on Paramount+.
Ding dong, mail's here. It is time for an A3 mailbag because you guys are always asking us questions. So thank you. Hit us up on socials at Attacking Third. We have an email, attackingthirder, THIRDER @gmail.com. Write us in the chat. Leave us 5-star comments on any podcast platform of your choosing with a question. Producer Mark gathers them all up, and now we get to answer them. And today's edition is U.S. Women's National Team. So let's dive in. Question number 1 comes to us from Over the Ball 1988. And they say, the thought of, quote, triple espresso feels like a distant memory with new players breaking out. Will we ever see the front line of Swanson, Wilson, and Rodman again? McCall?
Yeah, let me paint with this one. Okay, so let me give the people out there an example. It is very, very difficult. In fact, hasn't happened in the last 3 World Cups for the same starting front line to repeat over a 4-year cycle. Like to have 3 players in form and healthy all at the same time for a major tournament, the probability of that is very low. So in 2023, we played a 4-3-3, and it was Alex Morgan, Sophia Wilson-Smith, and Trinity, who started that final match up top. Okay. In 2019, we were also playing 4-3-3. It was Alex, Tobin, and Pino who started in their final match in that tournament. In 2015, we were playing a 4-4-2, and it was Alex, Morgan, and Carly Lloyd. In 2011, in a 4-4-2 was Cheney and Abby Wambach. So you see, there has never been an identical starting lineup in back-to-back World Cups because these players evolve and things happen in their personal lives or they fall in and out of form. So we just have to expect that triple espresso, we saw it, may not see it again.
McCall, the examples that you gave for 11, 19, 15, 19, all these different World Cups and competitions, 2023, these were all players of varying age groups. You look at the ages of triple espresso. Mallory Swanson is 27 years old. Sophia Wilson, 24. Trinity Rodman, 23. These players are all relatively in their same soccer age. Does that change anything?
It could, but you even see like Lauren Cheney in her younger days, Alex Morgan in her younger days, even Pino, right? But still, there was too many options and variability and talent, and you just don't see it back to back, if ever.
Okay, so this, you're talking World Cup, but could we see these 3 play together again?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay.
They'll
So
play
just
together. But is it going to be for a major tournament? Like, we'll
I
see.
feel like there's so many like variables, right? Like Trinity is working back in the gym. We see her. I see you, Trinity, like getting lifted, trying to work on your back and your strength and whatnot. The other two are going to be mamas. So like I also think that there's going to be a layer of like personal decision and choice as to like how much they want to be involved. I think that that's the one thing um in the women's game that kind of changes things a little bit. Like you have to take into consideration that it's pregnancy isn't an injury, though you certainly have to come back like it was. And then you also have like personal, emotional, and otherwise commitments to your kids. So it's like it's up to them ultimately what ends up happening. And that's something that I don't think any of us have the capacity to speak on.
no, there's a lot of variables and a lot of change. I'm gonna hold out hope though. I've got big hope that we're gonna see triple espresso.
We're still a couple years away, Lise.
Exactly. Plenty of time to recover, have a 2-year-old at the World Cup in Brazil. Trinity's got plenty of time to recover that back problem. Imagine baby Swanson, baby Wilson run around with Auntie Trin on the pitch before or after
But
the
watch
game.
somebody else break out. Alyssa Thompson, if she keeps going up, she's going to be the priority in there,
Which ultimately is what you want, that competition at the very top. A fun question. Thanks for that one over the ball. All right, question number 2. This one comes at us from Simon Says Save 10. How excited is everyone for the potential of a Lo LaBonta finally getting a cap for the U.S. women's national team?
All the feels, all the feels.
I feel like it rights a lot of wrongs. Like this should have been something that happened. I get it. You have different coaches, you have different styles, you have different preferences, a whole lot of competition. I mean, we have champagne problems in the US, or we have in the past, where it's like, well, who do you omit? And like, I think we're starting to move back into that conversation where you look in player pools and say, oh, yeah, maybe I'd like to see her get a call up, but like, in place of whom kind of a thing. But Lo is, and Vlatko's spoken so highly of her, just for Kansas City and otherwise, like her leadership qualities and things like that, the intangibles that I think would actually be great outside of the fact that she's so wildly talented and has been on the exceptionally young team. And I know she likes to joke around and say a lot like my kids, but
Yeah.
she's the kind of influence you need.
Yeah, she's going to bring such a different energy to this group. And Christine, you talked about who do we omit, who changes, who is no longer called into that camp to replace this person. Emma Hayes is fixing that problem with the U23 camps, because I think Corbin Albert is a player that we would have said, okay, she's usually in this roster. Does she not get called in because Lo gets called in? No, she's with the U23s. She still gets a camp. She still gets very valuable experience. And now going from however many caps she has, a dozen caps at the senior national team level, she gets to bring that experience to the U23s, which gives them a different wrinkle of a look. And the door opens for Lo LaBonta. And I am so excited for LaBonta, guys. I think also, she's talked about this, her mental kind of hump that she has already been over of, I'm not getting a call up, I'm not making it to this camp, to then get the call up and make it to a camp. Imagine your mindset at that point when you've already said you've kind of let a dream go and you're happy with where you are, right? You're not complacent, but happy and proud of what you've built as a club player and as a captain at Kansas City in a place that she calls home. And now she gets this another opportunity. A door opens because of her consistency. You take a moment like that differently. I mean, it's giving me chills thinking about
I
it.
can't be crying on the live stream,
I'm
please.
gonna
I
be
beg of you.
sobbing watching
Yeah,
her.
I'm like my eyes are watering. There's onions. Somebody's cutting them in here. I know it.
Can't wait.
It's a dream, right? Like that's the romantic side of soccer. Like you get to see the yield rarely, but you see all the hard work all along. And like she's a vet of the game. It's like the great fortune for all of us to finally get to see her get called up. Like
Mm-hmm. McCall, I have to ask you this. Lo will beat your record if she plays as being the oldest player to debut for the U.S. women's national team. What advice would you give her right now?
I'm so happy for her, but I also can feel her. I know how that is when you get called in late. You feel late to the party. and they already have a system and a style of play, and they do things differently, whether it's, pre-training meetings or just what you do on the road. And everyone kind of already has their connections and their groups and their cliques and all those things. And you just arrive late when you're already a very established woman, and it's difficult. I mean, I remember when I got into meetings like before training, and like the way that they organized them, they 7, 11, 9, and I had never been coached or been using the numbers system. So I had to like study and learn what they were talking about, what they meant so many times. My head was spinning. I was so overwhelmed because, again, you just feel that you were left behind and late to the party, but yet it's your dream and you've been waiting so long, so you don't want to mess it up. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with it too. Of course you're so overjoyed, but at the same time you're like, I worked so hard for so long, and here it finally is. And you really have to like balance your emotions.
Yeah, I feel like that's the harder part to manage. McCall, when you get in there, and obviously like you get in there and it's already like a very established team that's like been together, do you feel like you're kind of isolated where you're like, hey
Yeah.
guys, like, and also like, does that complicate the, like, I'm here to focus, like, I finally got my shot. Like, I can't imagine that amount of pressure to be like, I want to show what I got, but like also the human feelings of it, where it's like, damn, like, how do I manage this? I like don't want to be the one that's over sitting at the lunch table by myself being like, hey guys, can
No,
I come sit with you? Like, there's chemistry there.
you definitely feel like an outcast. And yeah, even things from like meals. So it's like, do we have to be there right on time? What do we wear to the games? Like, you're just constantly asking questions because you're in a new environment that you've never been in. So like, there is a level of distraction as well, because the off the field stuff, or just like the way that they do things as an organization, you're relearning that stuff. And especially when you're used to being a leader, like Lo is used to like having all the answers and being Lo mama and all the things. And when all of a sudden you feel out of control, and you've been controlling your performance in your environment for so long, it's a really hard transition. So I'm feeling for her, but like, I know she's going to kill it. And I'm so happy for her. Like, she deserves it so much. It's so exciting for her and her family, and for our country. Really, I think we need her. I think she's going to bring that perfect spice where she's super competitive, but she also brings the joy back to football. And when you're on that stressful stage, you need that joy to balance out like the expectation of our entire country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a big deal, right? Just everybody watching you.
Well, tune in, guys. Saturday. It's this Saturday. USA taking on China. The kickoff is 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And you know where you should be, 7:30 p.m. as soon as that final whistle blows, right here on YouTube with A3, because we've got a whole recap show. All right, we're moving on. Next question. This is A3 mailbag segment. We're getting off track here. I love it. This one comes at us from Becky Baines, 1456. If you could add just one more roster spot, who, McCall, would you invite to camp?
I mean, I know that people are going to have a lot to say about this because we haven't been able to see her play this last year since she went to Arsenal, but Jenna Nighswonger, I think we need another left-footed outside back. And also, you guys, she can play 10 and she runs with the ball well. And we don't really have, with Rose out, we don't have a lot of dribblers. We don't have, I don't know if Moultrie is going to be that 1v1 take on break lines with the ball at her feet. We need a player who can do that. And I think that, that she can play multiple positions and she can play
Emma Hayes would play Jenna Nighswonger at the 10?
But she can also play left winger too. She was subbing in our last major tournament for like last 10 minutes.
Yank, like Cat, like, yeah, no, I don't.
I know what you're
like
saying, McCall. Jenna does play those positions, right? She was an attacking midfielder in college. I don't think that she would ever play in the attacking midfield role.
Okay, last summer, how do you think she was doing when she was subbing in as like a left winger for like the last 10 minutes to just keep pressure on and keep the ball?
I like her as a left winger, especially considering how the U.S. is playing now in this, like, as we call it, a spiritual 3-back, getting higher. Yes, but I think defensively she can be a liability at times.
Yeah, that's why you don't need to
she's not playing right now.
Yeah.
She's not playing.
I know, it saddens me.
She's not playing. My call-up would be Sam Staub. We need another center back, a player that can ping balls on a dime and break lines and do so well defensively, especially considering Alana Cook just went down with an injury. She's now SEI. That's our 2 center backs. 2 of how many are in the pool? 3, 4?
Well, then go Shorty. Why isn't she in there?
I don't
She's-
know.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
she can
she's
play
too
left
short.
center back or left back. That's very valuable.
Well, Hayes told her she's not in.
I know.
He's told her she's out. Christine, who would you add if you had one more roster spot?
Let's see, who did it? I'm trying to think, like, who's not included?
Christine, we get these questions beforehand.
But I, like, have names that were, like, in my head that I was like, "Oh, maybe her, maybe her." Like, listen, sometimes I'm better when I just, like, pull the
You're too
trigger
smart
on
for your own good sometimes. Your brain's just hanging around.
Yeah, like, I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Well, like, I think I would have liked to have seen, like, Jaden Shaw in this camp, not in, like, U23s," just because I feel like, yes, like, she's dipped this season, but, like, I wanna see how she still plays with that pool of players because I feel like we haven't seen her as much, and I don't wanna say she looks like she's falling out of favor, but, um, I think I would have liked to have seen that. Also, Ashley Hatch, I think, like, would have been a
She's
good
gone.
shout to have her back in there again. So I think all in, like, I'd go Ashley if I
Yeah,
could just
I think Jaden Shaw is fine at the U23s. Yeah, she's 20 years
Yeah.
old. She's
Agreed.
so
I
young.
get that, Lisa,
She
but I
just
feel like
needs
the
some time.
expectations for her were so high, and just for, like, chemistry's sake, seeing her play with the senior team, I just wanted to see, like
I think she will get more confidence playing with the U23s because she will be able to control a little bit more, be a little bit more creative, have a little bit
Yeah.
more space.
I guess that's
I
fair.
think
I'm kind
it'll
of like
help her game in the long run.
throw her in the deep end and see where she's at again. But yeah, to your point, like if you want to actually recalibrate and reset expectations and see, hey, give her some of her confidence back. Because for me, if I were having the season that she's had thus far, I'd be a little bit down.
Mhm.
Yeah, but she's proven that she doesn't do well when things are handed to her or gifted to her. She had every access to the top in the world, all the expectation, all the support around her. And she needs to be challenged. She needs to be left off the roster. She needs to be bumped down. She needs some fire under her belly to really grow into that player that everyone is expecting.
Speaking of left off roster and not being called in, McCall, you just touched on this player, but we did get a question from Purple Haze USA. What happened to Jenna Nighswonger, right? Like she's not playing for Arsenal. Now she's left out of the camp. Is there a chance for her to return? Is perhaps, I'm adding this onto the question, Nighswonger not being called in to these camps going to light a fire under her?
For sure. I mean, that's what I love about Emma is like, if you're not in form, you're not playing, she's not going to call you in, you know? So like, I appreciate that. And I'm sure Jenna is very frustrated that she wasn't expecting that going to Arsenal. She thought she was going to play a whole bunch. And, you know, everyone's like, is she injured? Is she injured? The answer is no, she's not. She's just out of favor. She's just not playing. And her coaches said that she's struggling with the physicality of the WSL. And to your point earlier, Lisa, as a left back defender, you have to have physicality. So her defensive pressure and, you know, is the problem. You know, she's very good on the ball.
A Jenna Nighswonger stan could argue that, guys, she just won 2 trophies in the same day, winning the UEFA Women's Champions League final with Arsenal and the W Champions Cup with Gotham. That was the same day, y'all.
I mean, right.
But she didn't play a minute in either of those games.
Yeah, that's the damning part.
Yeah.
I think her going to Arsenal, I always thought was going to be a good thing and a challenge, but I never expected her to be a starter. You're not going to eclipse Katie McCabe, like you're just not. It's not going to happen. Defensively, at least, I think she still has a few weaknesses. Her get up on that flank I love that about her. I love her crosses; they're beautiful. I just think that there's more that she's going to need to refine in her game to make it into that Arsenal one starting lineup, but like to get minutes at all. Like she's going to have to develop more. And like, I think if anything, that'll benefit her in the long run because she's going to either have to specialize and become that girl or, like you're going to fall further out of favor. Either way, club and country, like she's going to need to make an impact.
Question number 5. This comes from _fandom_random_. The summer of 2027 will be here before we know it. When do you think a decision on who the next #1 U.S. goalkeeper should be made? Now, Emma Hayes has come out and said that by June, she wants to have a #1 locked in so that they can start getting reps and minutes consistently with the center backs. There are still this window that we are currently in, and then one more window in June before that happens. But when you look at the camp right now, 3 keepers called in: Mandy McGlynn, Fallon Tullis-Joyce, and Claudia Dickey. Mandy McGlynn leads that group with three name 'em caps. So if that's like the timeline, I would say, right? The end of June. Who's the number 1 right now, McCall? If you had
Well,
to say?
just all of our goalkeepers are so green, and yeah, we want to decide on someone to get them reps and minutes and familiarity with this, but we don't have our center backs decided either. So it's like, okay, yeah, I get that triangle going between the 2 center backs and the goalkeeper, but we're still moving some things around in those pieces as well. I mean, this is the first time we're going to see Gurma and Sonnet this year together,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see how they do. But yeah, it's alarming how they don't have a lot of appearances, and we're all hype on Fallon. She played one good game, like,
Right, but that's not her fault.
not her fault.
But,
But
like,
I'm
that's
saying,
the part that's irritating, like, if we need to accelerate this, where you're looking at June, right? She's been having a standout season with United. She's been good prior to that, she never really got a look, and now she's kind of eclipsed herself, so it's like, where do you and yes, she needs to refine some of the ball at her feet, like, that's her weakness in terms of being a keeper for this US women's team.
McCall, Fallon has played one good game. How many has Mandy McGlynn played in her 3 caps? How many great games has she played? It's about taking the opportunities and the chances that are given to you. And frankly, Fallon Tullis-Joyce got one 90-minute spell, and she said, I'm going to prove that I deserve to be called up again. Now she's called up again. I think she gets the start against China.
okay, but Emma has also said how important it is for her goalkeepers to have good feet in the build out, and Fallon still needs some work on that.
She does need some work
1,000%.
on it.
But
I
right
think
now,
if she plays out of the back in 1 or 2 of these games upcoming and tries, even if she fails, that will be very telling and showing of if she's working on it, if she's willing to take those
Okay,
risks.
well, McGlynn tried and failed and was really shaky building out with her feet in the back and her decision making, whether to go long or connect a pass.
yeah.
And it's
So
hurt
what would
her.
you rather
Now
have?
she's falling behind.
Yeah. So what would you rather have? Someone that tries and fails, or someone that just goes long?
Well, Fallon has all the support in the world right now, and people are about her. So just play her over and over again. These 2 games back to back, give her all the minutes. Let's see what she's really about.
Yeah.
I think that's really what needs to happen, because at United, she's doing what's been asked of her, which doesn't require her to play out the back. So
Yeah.
if it's going to be the opportunities with the US where she can demonstrate that she can keep her composure, still be a brick wall, and then add that extra layer that she can play these short balls out of the back, I think that makes her the starter. Like, I now's your time, right? Like, take it or leave it. You're probably not going to get many more opportunities to prove that you're definitively her.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll get to see who Emma Hayes starts in the back. If Lo LaBonta gets her first cap, it starts Saturday. USA against China, 5:30 p.m. A3 will be live at 7:30 Eastern following that match. And then Tuesday, June 3rd, USA against Jamaica, 8 p.m. So 2 friendlies coming up in this international window. Thanks, everyone, for your questions. Hit us up on socials at Attacking Third. Email us, drop comments and questions in the chat, because we love answering your questions. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We're doing a revision board in the NWSL next. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third. We made our vision boards at the start of 2025 with NWSL picks for everything that you could imagine. I even did my whole standings 1 through 14. It is in shambles, but we won't talk about that now. So we are doing a post week 10 NWSL revision board.
Mark, why did you make us do this? Now we all look wrong.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Well, he's letting us redo it, McCall. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of
okay.
here for it. I'm kind of here for it. So we get this little international break. So let's talk about it. Golden Boot winner. Who do you have, McCall? Now that if you could reshape, you can repick whoever you picked. who is going to be the Golden Boot winner at the end of the season?
Chewinga. I was a little bit worried about a sophomore slump because you can always have a breakout year, but then once people know everything you're about, where you're dangerous, where you're weak, but she just continues to be unstoppable.
Christine?
I mean, I'm revisiting my last season rooting interest in Barbara Banda. So I'm going Banda. I want to see her do it.
Yeah, I think it's honestly could be between those two. I'm going to throw out a curveball here. Ashley Hatch. Ashley
Okay.
I think she's going to do it. I think she's just going to go ahead with Croy Bethune coming back into the mix and Hal Hirschfeld. She's going to be getting assists, serves on platters to her. I'm going with Ashley Hatch. Okay.
She needs to hit their penalties then. I think anybody who wants to win the Golden Boot needs to get behind the pens.
She does, though.
It's easy money. That's what I'm saying. It's easy money, easy bread.
Yeah. Which could take it away from Chewinga or Banda because they don't take them.
They don't hit them. I know.
Either. And
they always run one play.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let's talk MVP because mine is no longer existent. My pick was Trinity Rodman. She has taken a personal step away from soccer, so it's not going to be her anymore. I think Debinha is probably a really good shout for this one, but I'm going to go Cascarino with San Diego.
Oh, that's a good one. Dang.
She is an assist queen. She
I love her.
dictates the game for them. She does so much on both sides of the ball. And to me, the MVP question is without them on the field and on the team, are they as good? And no.
And then the second layer of the question is if you put them on any team, would they still be just as good?
And I think Delphine Cascarino out of San Diego Wave is my MVP through week 10 right now. Does anyone else have a shot at this? Sandra Herrera the other night went off on Rebecca Bernal, saying that she should be in the MVP caliber.
A little love for the back line. Okay.
You would like that one, McCall.
I mean, I had Debinha. I mean, she was just getting back into the form of her life, but she's going to be out for 2 months now, which is a big bummer. Yeah, and to me, if you're not playing games, you can't get it.
I think she could. I think Debinha could still get it if she comes back and is playing like even 2% better than she was in the first 7 weeks of play.
I'm sorry, Astaire.
Yeah.
Remove her from Gotham, right? She is Gotham right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's an entire team. And then again, if she went to another team, she just has something that she can offer in so many ways. She can play 9, she can play 10, she can hold the ball up, she can finish, she can pass. She does great defensive pressure work, initiating the press. I think she's so stinking good, you guys.
Yeah, but Gotham has to do well. You can't have an MVP on a team that.
Yeah, that's the hard
part.
What
about if they just made the playoffs? What if they sneak in at number 8? Is that good enough for you?
Sure.
Like, I'm sure they will. I feel like in my mind, they don't not make playoffs. So I don't know. Debinha, Astaire, I'd say the only other one, again, to your point, they have to be doing super well, would be like maybe Alyssa Thompson.
Oh.
That's a good shout. I don't think she's MVP caliber.
Because she's too hot and cold.
Well, you took all the good ones already, okay?
All right, Christine, we'll let you go first for this one then. Rookie of the year. Now that we've seen these young guns come out and ball.
Oh my God, there's so many good ones. I think right now Riley Tiernan's my favorite though, so I feel like I'm riding for her.
I had Lily Real. I'm going to keep it just because I think being a defender first year in this league, going against really, really tough competition that are usually on the international stage and have a lot of experience in how to chop down any which way kind of backs. If a rookie back is holding their own and standing out, I think it's very impressive.
I agree with you, McCall, but not with Lily Real, with Trinity Armstrong, defender for San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Center back. She does so much underrated work. Next game, everyone that's listening, watch Trinity Armstrong for just 10 minutes in a game. Her positioning, her communication, her movement, the way that San Diego is playing, where they split their center backs and Kaylin Sheridan, their goalkeeper, comes up and acts as a second center back in possession to build out. That's asking so much of a young rookie. Bravery on the ball, and Trinity Armstrong has that. She's
a good shout. She's actually a really good passer as well. And I'm not talking about side to side safe passes to your outside back. She will thread and split into the midfield, skipping a line.
She's brave. She's brave on the ball. And you need that for a team to be successful. And that's helping San Diego be successful. Plus, she gets on the score sheet. She's got a goal this year and an assist this year. Like, let's go. Plus, she's got the hairstyle of the league. Okay, let's talk coach of the year, McCall. Who could be your coach of the year?
Eidevall, 100%.
That's my answer.
I think if Vlatko wins the Shield, he could be the coach of the year. But I have.
I'd agree with that, but I also have the wave for the Shield. So
you do have the wave for the Shield.
Do you really?
Whoa, I have Kansas City.
And that's like a huge rejiggering, because initially I said that Orlando were going to double this season. So,
well, San Diego just with that win skipped into second place, so they're close. They're there now.
Second straight week, they're in second. Who do you have, McCall, for the Shield?
I had Orlando for the Shield, Kansas City winning it all.
Oof. Okay, so I have Kansas City for the Shield. I'm sticking with Washington Spirit to win it all. I said that preseason, and I just don't know why. It's just like a gut feeling I have. I'm just giving it to them. They're nowhere else on my award sheet right now. I give Ashley Hatch Golden Boot, and if that happens, they could win the championship.
That's fair. I'm gonna go current. I feel like
San Diego Shield, Kansas City championship.
Something's gonna happen to them. They can't keep going like this, and you can already see the injuries dropping a little bit.
I don't know, man. I feel like with the way that the final panned out last year, they'll be back with a vengeance.
We'll see, guys. It's only week 10. Let us know your revision board.
Are we gonna have the revision board?
Yeah, of course. We can always bring it back. There are no rules here at A3. We can do whatever we want. All right, guys. Before we wrap up the show, we have some breaking news that dropped earlier today. That we need to touch on. The PSG goalkeeper and England women's national team goalkeeper Mary Earps has announced her immediate retirement from international football. She was called up during this international window for England, but now this decision confirms she will not be available and not play for Serena Vigman's England side as England tries to win again their UEFA European Championship in Switzerland. Jess Carter, Gotham defender and English international defender, saying that this is sad for everyone involved. McCall, this is pretty interesting timing as this has come about for Earps to announce her international retirement.
Yeah, the timing is disappointing because now they're left scrambling trying to find somebody. And when you go down the chain of who that somebody might be, you're looking at Hannah Hampton, 24 years old. She first started getting called up in 2022. She only has 13 appearances with their national team. And then the next question bargains only because this was their roster in February camp. Anna Morehouse was in there, and she has 0 appearances.
Yeah, she's back in there. Yeah. Kiara Keating is also potentially in the mix, I would say. I think Hannah Hampton is the number 2.
Hannah Hampton's been the clear heir apparent always. So I feel like there isn't that kind of speculation around it, like the U.S. goalkeeping situation. It was always going to be Earps or Hampton, and that was going to be the battle between the two of them.
And perhaps that's a reason Mary Earps said, if I'm not going to be the number 1, I don't want to play anymore. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot that goes into it. One other thing that Jess Carter mentioned is that this is so brave for a player to put their interests and what is best for Earps as a person and as a player ahead of anything else, because this could be exactly what she needs at this time. And despite getting this being perhaps a swift announcement, a bit abrupt that came this morning, it is her decision and it is what she wants to do. And there's an element of putting yourself first that doesn't always happen in this game when it comes to this decision of stepping away and retiring. internationally only.
Yeah, I think the only thing with the way that Serena dropped the quote that was like the expectation was that Mary Earps would be part of this project going forward. I feel like stepping away in light of that or despite that is, I mean, I applaud her. I couldn't do it. If I knew that like I have Euros ahead and I will likely be central, if not the number one, and then still being like, it's my time to retire.
Yeah, but what if
I
everybody
commend that.
quit because they weren't going to start?
Yeah.
That's not how teams work.
I know, that's fair. That's fair. I just think it's harder to walk away from knowing that this could have been her last ride instead of her cashing in her chips now.
I get what you're saying, McCall. You don't quit if you're not the number one. What if the
It makes it
mental side
easier.
of it wasn't going to be good
Oh,
for
if
you?
it's risking her mental health, then absolutely not. Like
Yeah.
she needs to do what's right for her.
Yeah. Or even just like attitude, which right isn't the team thing. And I don't know. Now I'm just going off on something else. But okay, we also have oh no, that's it. That's the end of our show. Sorry guys. Trying to get caught up on what our producers talking about. I'm just too invested in the conversation. Guys, thanks for hanging with us. This was really fun. We had such a great combo today. If you have mailbag questions for us, hit us up. We love answering them.
I love them.
We have another show coming up on Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern live on YouTube. And we've got US action coming up this weekend, which is so exciting. So stick with us and follow us on Attacking Third. Listen wherever you get your pods. Of course, on the Lazo Network, you can watch us, and on YouTube. For McCall, Christine, and Mark, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.